Hello, and good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you're joining us from. Certainly appreciate you taking some time out of your day to join us for today's webinar. We'll be focused on MarTech in 2017. It's that time of year where we start to look at what to expect in the coming year. So we'll be focused on some trends that we're noticing in the marketplace, and also talk a little bit about technology selection, which is near and dear to our hearts here as a research firm. Before we get started, have a couple of housekeeping items of note. First and foremost, if you do have questions throughout the presentation, you can just enter those into the GoToWebinar control panel under the questions tab, and we can get those answered for you. Also, the seminar is being recorded, and so it looks like that was a question that was already there. So yes, this is being recorded, so our subscribers who are on the line will be able to access that as part of their subscription, and we'll also send the slides out to those who aren't subscribers but are attending today's session. And for those who are new to Real Story Group, just as a quick high-level look at our organization, we are fundamentally an industry analyst firm, and so what we do is evaluate 150 or so products from over 100 vendors that are all focused on digital workplace and digital marketing technology. And our goal is to really help our customers make smart technology investment decisions. So we do that in a couple different ways. We provide tools that allow you to create a customized short list that's really based on your particular use cases, scenarios, and strategic considerations, as well as another tool that you can compare the strengths and weaknesses of those products side by side with each other, as well as another application where you can actually measure your digital effectiveness and then benchmark yourselves against industry peers and then across all industries, and then really put a sort of stake in the ground, if you will, and then track and continue to measure your progress as you move forward, as well as focus on particular areas where your business can improve. What's different about our company versus some other market research firms you may have worked with in the past is that our only focus is on technology users and buyers. So we do no work for the vendors we evaluate. We are completely independent and can provide you with that pull no punches approach in regards to what the vendors are doing well, but perhaps more importantly to you as a technology user, where they're falling short and what challenges you could run into working with a particular vendor or technology product. Our research is focused on these 7 markets, again, all content-based technology markets, and really they kind of fall into 2 major buckets, which are digital workplace and digital marketing technology. So on the next slide, you'll see our famous or infamous subway map, where we really speak to the different vendors that we evaluate in these marketplaces. As I mentioned, it's digital workplace technology is one particular bucket, and digital marketing technology is the other. And that's really where we're going to focus on today. So with that, I'd like to actually introduce my colleagues Teresa and Kashyap that will be taking us through the heart of today's presentation. Teresa?
Great, thank you, Scott. Hello, everybody. Coming to you from bright and sunny Philadelphia, my hometown today, and I hope it's bright and sunny wherever you are as well. As Scott mentioned, we're going to talk about MarTech trends that are current and coming down the pike. I think we could really just start by looking at this map and highlighting a few initial trends in the marketplace. And those of you who've seen our map before know that the vendors in the middle, which are sort of the household names like OpenText and IBM, Microsoft, Oracle, these are vendors that have heavily invested in MarTech through acquisition over the last couple of years. In some cases, acquiring multiple tools that do the same thing, and a lot of the trends in this space are driven by the attempt of these large vendors to really cover a very broad brush of the varied technologies that are a part of MarTech. And then we're also going to talk a bit about best of breed approaches that are really the focus of the vendors that are individually on each of these lines. So the vendors that don't occur in the middle tend to be more focused on a single aspect of marketing technology, whether that be digital asset management or campaign management, lead management, nurturing, etc. So we'll talk a little bit about that dichotomy, but I just wanted to highlight that here on our subway map before we move on to the next slide. Okay, so here's our artistically displayed tag cloud or metadata cloud, highlighting some of the MarTech trends for the coming year that we're going to talk about today. A lot of these terms are probably already quite familiar to you. Obviously, there's ones that have been around or terms that have been around for longer, such as content marketing and responsive design. Personalization is a term that we've been using for more than a decade now, if not close to 2 decades. But maybe some of the ones that aren't as old or haven't been around as long are perhaps even more interesting to you as marketers or practitioners. And we're going to focus a little bit more on these today. And those would be things like machine learning and virtual reality, wearables. Some of these trends are still, even though we've been talking about them, in reality they're still relatively new in terms of actually coming to fruition. And part of what's interesting about all these trends is that a lot of the market that we cover in the digital marketing side of things, they've have a lot of experience I should say the vendors have a lot of experience in some of these areas, but not others. And that's probably also the case with you as a marketer or as a buyer. That maybe you've been working in marketing automation for a long time. Maybe you've just developed an omni-channel strategy for your organization, but you probably haven't gone into a lot of depth on how you might use virtual reality or bots to make your marketing strategy come to life. So we'll talk a little bit about how that's moving forward. One of my favorite books as a child was the French book Le Petit Prince, which was written by the great author Saint-Exupéry, who sadly perished in his own plane flying over the desert. And I think one of the most beautiful metaphors in this book was around when the Petit Prince talks about his when he's talking about the sky and he talks about the stars. He talks about what really makes his star unique is the fact that he has his own flower that blooms on that star, and he talks about the uniqueness of everybody's star. And I think what's interesting about marketing today is exactly that. It's that we can all look up at the sky, but we're all going to see it a little bit differently, and we're all going to approach it a little bit differently, and we're all going to have a different conception of how we should approach our own view of the universe. And marketing is really moving in that same very extremely varied and extremely personal direction. When I say that, I mean personal from a marketer perspective. So you have so many options. It's like looking up at the sky when you're away from a city on a dark night, where there's just so many different things that you might see and might conceive, even beyond that preconception of what the constellations already are. So we'll talk about the options for you as you look at this vast universe. And then you can also think about, okay, well, what unique way do I want to approach this? What's my own view of how I could approach this future of marketing? And with that, I'm going to hand it over to my brilliant colleague, Cash, who's going to talk tactically about some of these trends. He's our research director in the MarTech space, and he's actively looking into these tools all the time. So, Cash, take it away.
Okay. Thanks, Teresa. So here in this presentation, what we thought we'd do is there is a whole bunch of new things and new trends coming at you very fast in this space. So how should you really be thinking about such niches, trends, or fads? So what you see in this slide, these are not like the top trends that we see, but if you look back at the last few quarters, these are some of the things that our customers have been asking us questions like, okay, so our CMO has heard about virtual reality marketing and wants to do something about it. So what should we do about it? Who are the vendors in this space? Or because of all the buzz around artificial intelligence and machine learning, so there is a lot of interest around bots. So are they really going to disrupt marketing? So what should we be thinking about it? So these tend to be the concerns of B2C marketers and to an extent B2B marketers. But if you look at B2B marketers, they're thinking about content marketing, video marketing. What should we be really looking at out? So they, to an extent, they realize that some of these things will have a lasting impact, some don't have, and they should somehow be part of the brand strategy. But what they see is that most likely these are to be implemented in a silo in a small part of the organization. That's driven by one or two factors. One is none of the larger marketing vendors that we tend to think about really support any of these kind of technologies or use cases. So each of these pieces that you say has its small satellite ecosystem with its own specialist vendors and whatnot. So really we thought like we should really think about how should we be thinking about such niches. So I thought I'll illustrate what has happened in 2016 with a couple of these things and then talk about how we can tactically implement or execute such strategies. So let's talk about augmented reality. So at the beginning of 2016, augmented reality was mentioned by marketers only in passing. So there wasn't a whole bunch of interest. But then come summertime, suddenly Pokemon Go was all the rage. And this has shot up to 100 million users in probably less than a week or so. So you had a lot of interest and a lot of commentary around how this is going to change everything for marketers. So augmented reality was suddenly on the C-suite agenda, and all the CMOs had formed teams to explore what to do further, etc. But by then, I mean, maybe a couple of months passed, and then we hit peak Pokemon Go. So if the rise was meteoric, the fall was also like equally epic. So the peak had been reached, and then by the time the CMOs could put their task forces as to what to do with augmented reality, how it fits into their marketing use cases, so it's sort of a reality check has dawned on them. So this raises the question of, fine, there are a lot of trends, but should you go after every new shiny trend? So hold on to that thought. So now I want to take you back probably 100 years in time to this, one of the early marketing pioneers called John Wanamaker. So he opened the first department store in Philadelphia. He had a couple of marketing innovations to his credit, like he was the first to introduce price tag for goods. He also pioneered the concept of money back, which has become standard across the world right now. And he was also one of the first to take out, in fact, the first to take out a full page ad in a newspaper. So at that point in time, we have this sort of truism about advertising in which I don't know which half of my advertising is wasted. So, but now we live in different times. So clearly in this era of big data, predictive analytics, machine learning, intelligent software, we don't have this problem, right? And data-driven marketing would surely have made this a problem of the past, right? But unfortunately, the answer appears that it's not so fast. So some of you will be familiar with the controversy around Facebook and Facebook metrics. So what has happened in the last 2-3 months is that Facebook admitted that some of their metrics around video viewership, the reach of its articles, the user engagement, and the number of viewers watching the video, they have been miscalculated. So despite the abundance of data, it remains a black box. What's working, how effective we are with respect to our marketing initiatives. I mean, social media marketing and campaigns are now a staple of almost every brand. And a lot of that is, I mean, synonymous with Facebook. So I'm citing the example of Facebook here, but similar issues plague the digital marketing world. So when Zuckerberg says whoops, I mean, it's not that we need to pull back completely from Facebook or video marketing or Google Analytics or whatnot. But I just want to call attention to the fact that some skepticism may be in order. Obviously, I mean, if you had a different set of data, what resources you allocate, how much budget you set aside, and your priorities, your marketing priorities would perhaps have been different if we had the right set of data. So I just wanted to step back and reflect on the bigger picture of the arc of marketing. Obviously, I mean, there are stumbles, but it's not a straight line path, but the progress is that we're making is more like a zigzag thing. So we definitely have newer marketing techniques and avenues right now, but these windows of opportunity open and close pretty quickly. And what we see, I mean, time and again, is that not the large marketing platforms, but the specialist vendors are what are driving innovation in some of the emerging areas. But having said all of this, while trends are exciting and fancy, there is also the core of traditional digital marketing that we've come to know and implement. So there is customer segmentation, there is email campaigning, lead management, lead nurturing, web experiences. I mean, they still remain core and fundamental to what we understand as marketing and marketing technology. So there is this eternal dynamic in place where some technologies mature, they become part of the core. So, but we also have this constant churn where there are enduring trends, but there are also passing fads. So with that context and with the examples, some of the examples that we've looked at, so we've distilled down like 3 success mantras and of how to succeed in MarTech in 2017 and beyond. So definitely, I mean, no doubt that technology has become the bedrock of modern marketing. And it's not an exaggeration to say that there isn't a marketing initiative or project that does not involve technology. So as marketers and technologists, our job is to assemble together the best of breed or the best possible marketing technology stack that serves our needs and our customer requirements. And secondly, we need to be more agile or nimble in our leverage of technology in our efforts to be more customer-centric. Then we also need to constantly assess our capabilities and see where we're making progress, where we're moving the needle, but also where we're lagging. So that sets the context for moving from a big picture strategy view to the execution part. And here I will hand it over back to Teresa.
Great. Thank you, Kash. So this is the companies and the vendors, I will say, that are attempting to assist all of you as marketers to make all this happen. And I think, to go back to what Kash said, these vendors are not selling virtual reality solutions, but they will tell you how their technology might play into managing the assets for a virtual reality experience or promoting a virtual reality experience, for example. But I think the key thing to remember here is that these vendors are very specific in what they functionally address, and we have them on those specific functional boxes here to help you really understand where their tools are focused. And obviously you see a lot of duplication here in the logos with those big vendors that were in the middle of our subway map, such as Adobe, such as IBM, as an example, such as Oracle, simply because they do play in all these functional spaces. But remember, they are very separate, very specifically separate tools. So across the top, we have campaign and lead management. These are the tools that are helping you manage your base of customers and your base of leads, and then marketing and promoting your specific products or content to that very nurtured list. And then across the middle, we have digital and marketing asset management, the keyword there really being asset. So these are tools that are very focused on managing your brand assets, your images, and sort of branching into managing things like packaging, labeling experiences. And of course, those assets get tied into the campaign and lead management tools as well. So they're really a push towards those other tools. And then across the bottom, we have our longest standing research area, which is web content and experience management. This is a space that we've covered since our origins 15 years ago. And it's just seen a tremendous amount of change, in the sense that what used to be rather simplistic tools to just help you manage web templates and sort of push content to the web is much more about managing broader customer experiences that might involve personalization and e-commerce and assets and product data from other systems. So across all these tools, there's more and more functional overlap. And as an implementer and from a practical standpoint, as you move into 2017, it's extremely important to understand what is your system of record, not only in each of these boxes, but also how do you connect these different technologies so that you can have that end-to-end experience for your customers and also for your internal marketers, because they might have to use multiple tools across the board to really realize the strategy that you're striving towards. So on the next slide, we've got something that will help you think about this more holistically. And this is a customer-centric model for MarTech. And this is really meant to put into a framework for you to think about your customer at the center. I think that we often, as buyers and implementers of technology, we often get lost in technology for technology's sake, and we sometimes lose the bigger picture, which is what's the customer experience that we're really trying to enable here. And in this view, you've got customers in the middle whom you want them to be able to discover your products or your content. You want them to be able to transact with you, whether that transaction is financial or experiential in some way. And then finally, you want to give them a feeling of belonging to your brand or to your organization, and you want to keep them, that's what keeps them coming back and engages them. So your technologies need to inspire and provide value and enable them and delight them so that they do come back, and they need to be useful. So all those vendors that I showed on the last slide, they don't do that for you, right? That's your task as a marketer, is to figure out how do I use those tools to help my customers discover, transact, and belong. And what we've illustrated in the light blue circle in the middle is the journeys that your customers are probably taking with you, whether that be on a mobile device or a website or even in a store, where they might be going up to a kiosk to find out what the coupons are that are available today for them to get a discount on the makeup that she might want to wear tomorrow night to her party, right? So it's a very nuanced, sort of detailed journey that you might want to map out for the customer. And then those particular actions that they might be taking on the website or on the app or in the store then have to have specific technologies that enable those things. So the gray circle is mapping those experiences to those particular journeys, and then the outward purple circle is showing you the enterprise services that you also need to have and enable in your organization to take it all back to the customer. So in 2017, you need to really have this filled in and figured out, as a reference model. So you should be able to take this to a meeting as a marketer, sit with your IT team, sit with your teammates, and say, here's the technology that we're going to plug into each of these boxes in the purple circle and the gray circle, and this is how we're going to enable the experiences that our user experience and marketers have mapped out. So we encourage you to take this model, use it, and then of course you can apply our research to figure out the best way to use the tools towards this goal. We also, as many of you know, especially if you're a subscriber on the call, you can use our capability and effectiveness framework. And there's a lot of maturity models out there. Maturity models have been around for a long time, and you can find them all over the internet. But what we've done is take it to the next level and allowed you to go through our applications. And this goes back to the reference model I just showed to figure out, well, how well are we doing this, right? You may have already chosen technologies. You may have already implemented a lot of these MarTech technologies. But what we've been able to ascertain through our research, many of the surveys that the Cash has led over the last couple of years, is basically that people aren't using MarTech, that their investments to the fullest capability. In fact, many people feel they're only using sort of 20 to 50% of a tool's capability that they own. So part of the value of actually doing a self-assessment taking an effectiveness model and looking at first, do we have the right people, right? So that's expertise. Do we have the right techniques? Do we have the right skill sets in house? Are we actually managing to the right scope? Do we have the right process in place, or are there areas where we can actually analyze and optimize our process and potentially automate it with these investments that we've undertaken? And then finally, do we actually have the right systems? It's frequently the case that you might have a perfectly adequate system, but everything on the left isn't aligned. So you don't have the right expertise, or you're not managing to the right scope, or you don't have the right process to actually make the systems be used as effectively as you might. So our models really help you realize where the gaps are, whether you might need to replace the tool, because sometimes you might realize, well, we have the right people in place and we're managing to the right scope, but we don't have a tool that can actually automate the sort of processes that we know are the right ones. So we encourage you to look here. We have the URL, and you can test out this tool, evaluate yourself, and then map that back to the reference model. This is what we see as a big initiative for marketers in 2017, is really understand where you stand in terms of your progress, because a lot of these investments have been made or are being made, and yet there's not really a solid or truly specific understanding of what the gaps are. So this is a big piece of what you need to be doing in 2017. Next slide. We have just a little bit more on our evaluations. We have, as Scott mentioned early on, two sort of research buckets: digital workplace and digital marketing. We have 82 evaluations of tools across the MarTech space. So we also invite you to have a look at that. And I think that is what we prepared today. I'll just hand it briefly back to Scott. If you have questions, we haven't quite looked at the panel yet. You're welcome to put any questions in that you might have, and we'll answer them with the last couple of minutes we have left. Scott, I'll hand it back to you to close it out.
Great. Thanks, Teresa. That was some great insight from both of you, and certainly do appreciate you sharing that info and spending some time with us. Just as a quick reminder, the slides will be emailed to all the attendees today, so keep an eye out for those over the next couple of days. And again, for our subscribers, you'll be able to access a recording of the presentation as well. We certainly invite you to take a look at our website. You can actually try out the tools that we have for building a customized short list and measuring your digital effectiveness. You can also download samples from each of our research topics and then take a look at the different subscription options that are available. We do offer advisory time with Teresa Cash and the rest of our analyst team as part of a plus subscription to our research. So we'd certainly encourage you to take a look in more detail at that. If you want to stay in touch with us and see the extra goodies, so to speak, that come with a subscription, we'd be happy to walk you through a behind-the-scenes tour of our subscriber experience. You can just reach out to us at explore@realstorygroup.com or give us a call at the numbers that are on the screen. And then our next webinar will be next Wednesday at 12 Eastern, where we'll be talking about the right way to build a digital workplace toolkit. So we touched on digital marketing today, and next week we'll be focused more on the digital workplace. So with that, it looks like there are a couple of questions that have come in. Teresa?
Fabulous. Sure. A lot of them are, a couple are directed at Cash. I don't know if Cash, you want to speak to somebody who's working with Watson, which is very interesting, to use AI to build MarTech's stacks. Somebody wanted to talk about that offline, but that's an interesting comment. If you have any thoughts on Watson, Cash, feel free to pipe in there.
So yeah, I mean, Mike has this question. Mike has a bunch of questions. So yes, I mean, I think there are definitely certain very interesting use cases with respect to Watson and more generally about machine learning and artificial intelligence. But what we are seeing is that in the current maturity level, they probably have to go very, very industry specific, very vertical specific rather than horizontal use cases that appear across different industries. So that's our current take. And you also have a question around account-based marketing. Do we see it as a big trend, or do we see it as, I mean, a fad? But I think that is something that has some legs. So there is definitely, I mean, B2B marketers really haven't had a lot of innovation being directed towards them, and account-based marketing can have the potential to realize some of the promise of a data-driven marketing. So that's definitely something to watch out for and put some dollars around it. So there is a question around how does ad tech fit into the maturity framework? So in that sense, I think though there is some intersection, both of these marketplaces coming together, we saw, I think, Adobe acquire an ad tech firm. So a lot of other vendors also have acquired data management platforms. So to that extent, there is sort of a coming together, but these, to the most part, remain distinct distinct technology spectrums or distinct domains. So hopefully, not hopefully, but probably in the next 3 to 5 years, we'll see a mad tech world where it's both marketing and ad tech coming together. So those are some of the questions. Yeah.
Okay, I think with that, thank you, Cash. I think we'll wrap up, and thank you again, everyone, for attending the webinar, and we'll see you again soon. Have a great day.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.